Hey, it's Ramsey Dewey over here in Shanghai, China. If you haven't been paying attention to what's been going on with Chinese martial arts lately, there's been this streak of traditional martial artists who've never actually been in a fight before, challenging or getting challenged to a full contact fight, either MMA or kickboxing or boxing, with an experienced fighter. So let's watch the latest iteration of the Kungfu guy who gets instantly knocked out by the real fighter. Now, by Kungfu guy, I don't mean to disparage people who practice Kung Fu, rather to draw attention to what happens when we have a conceptual martial artist who doesn't actually train to fight for real against real live humans with real live resistance, and a combat sports athlete who does exactly that. In a contest of reality, the reality-based martial artist is going to win. So let's watch this bout right here. It's less than a minute long. Right, we've got the traditional martial artist bowing in. He's got his Kung Fu outfit on against a guy in a pair of Muay Thai shorts. Kung Fu guy is not wearing gloves. The fighter is wearing a pair of MMA gloves. And single right straight. Just single right straight. No setup, no nothing. Here's an interesting term. Sucker punch. In modern English, that means to surprise somebody with a surprise punch. That was originally an old boxing term which meant to lead with your right hand. To lead with your right hand, and it was called the sucker punch because only a sucker would fall for it. Sucker punch knockout in the old classical boxing vernacular right there. Kind of want to watch that again. Let's take a look. Maybe slow it down a little bit. All right. So again, they're bowing in. They separate. Referee calls a start to the action. They touch hands. The Kung Fu guy has his right arm stretched out without a feint or a fake or anything. He left himself straight open down the center. Boom. Right hand. Lead. And that's it. The end. Instant knockout. It's about what I expected. A little less dancing around than some of these other, non-fighter versus actual fighter fights. And that's probably a better way to term it than Kung Fu versus MMA or whatever. It's a non-fighter versus a fighter. And that's what happens when you have somebody who's good at something against somebody who isn't. So why does this happen? Why does this keep happening over and over and over and over again? Is this a Chinese phenomenon? Is this unique to the People's Republic of China? I would say not really. The same thing has happened across cultures and countries many times. But what's different about China is China didn't experience UFC 1. I mean, you can look it up and watch it here, but that whole hullabaloo of UFC 1 changing martial arts in America didn't really happen here. So all the established Kung Fu experts over here, and I say Kung Fu experts in quotes up here, because there are legitimate fighters who practice Kung Fu, just not very many of them. Not here in China. You gotta dig deep to find those guys, and most of them are old and dead now. And the younger generation doesn't really want to have anything to do with that these days. Because it's hard work, and hard work is hard. So China didn't experience UFC 1. They didn't see Hoist Gracie choking people out with jiu-jitsu. They didn't see what happens when you put karate guys against other karate guys or kung fu guys against wrestlers or any of that stuff. I mean, there have been MMA shows here in China for a while, but they've been so under the radar with mainstream culture for so long that essentially this streak of kung fu guys, non-fighters, against actual fighters is their equivalent of UFC 1. This is their equivalent of seeing Royce Gracie choke out Art Jimerson or whatever. And it's revelatory to people. I got a lot of questions about Xu Xiaodong beating up these fake kung fu guys. And, you know, he's not the only guy doing it. I mean, China's a big place. You got 1.3 billion people. With a mess of people that big, you're going to see everything eventually, somewhere in this country. It's happening. So, why does this keep happening? And for how long will it happen? You know what? I see the same sort of thing start in comment sections on YouTube. In martial arts related videos, people will argue about stuff and get mad and say, oh yeah, well, I challenge you to a fight. Meet me in the park or whatever, and we'll have a kung fu, taekwondo, karate battle. Then we'll see who's the real deal. Some iteration of that goes on daily on YouTube, probably 1,000 million bazillion times. Why does this keep happening? It's this weird pride. This weird pride, and I understand it because I've been there, that a lot of traditional martial pretenders experience. Guys who have spent many years going to a class couple times a week, wearing a uniform, bowing in, punching and kicking at the air, and not actually experiencing combat stress ever. But they believe they know how to fight, even though they've never actually been in a real fight before. And I get that, because I've experienced that. Why? Because, you know, many years ago, I went to martial arts schools just like that. And I got this idea in my head, oh, I've earned this belt, I've earned this rank, I've spent this many years walking in and out of this martial arts school, and therefore I must know how to fight, even though I've never actually been in a fight before. But I had the experience of getting into an actual fight. And that was revelatory, you know, getting in a ring to fight professionally in kickboxing for the first time, with a background in traditional martial arts like taekwondo and Shotokan, karate, and capoeira. And feeling like that was enough, that was more than enough. That was better than professional fight experience. It's amazing how deluded we can get. And there's that popular quote from Mike Tyson, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. I would amend that and say, nobody has a real plan until well after they get punched in the face. Because that punch in the face, it might knock you out, but eventually it's going to wake you up. It's going to wake you up to the reality of what a fight is, and how you have to train accordingly to prepare yourself for that kind of action and that kind of combat stress and that kind of anxiety. It's a whole different world, my friends. So why does this keep happening? Well, new humans keep coming in and forgetting the lessons of the old ones. Thanks for watching. Now get out there and train.